Hey, you guys, Eddie Collins for HotVWs magazine. Got something really cool again for you. Very, very fortunate to meet Joe Dean here, who actually brought this, the Chimp, to the shop one day. And I thought, what is this thing? So you guys, it's super cool. We thought we'd share it with you. So ready for a nice little ride back in history? This is the Chimp, you guys. And this actually was the overall winner back in 1968 of the Mint 400. But Joe, take it away. I mean, tell us a little bit about this car. Let's start as far as how'd you find it? How'd you come about this car?
Well, it's not mine. It's a friend of mine, Doran, and he found the car. I don't know how he got wind of it, but he found it in Pismo Beach. And this was about 2 years ago, I think. And I think he kind of fell in love with the history on it. And so kind of had to have it. He's a collector. He has lots of Manx buggies and stuff like, as you know.
Yeah, we got a chance to ride with them.
And so it was in Pismo Beach. Some guy was selling it to him, and the story I remember is that it had centerline wheels on it, and he thought that's what the car, that's what everybody wants, are the centerlines. They don't really care about the car. But of course, Doran knew what the car was. So he got the car. It was in bad shape, but good bones. And so we put some seats in it. He called us up and said, "I got an idea. It's not a good idea, but how about you guys take this thing in the Mexican 1000 from Ensenada to Cabo?" And we said, yes, we'll do that.
Oh my gosh.
So we arranged some weekends to come over to his house and work on it, get it put back together, get it greased up. We really just put oil in the motor and tune the carb. We don't even know what size motor it is. You can see the alternator is as old as, I don't know, as old as the hills. We did a couple other things. He rewired it. And we kind of fell in love with it. We drove it. It just came through every single day for us. Every morning, we would turn the key and it would just start and let's go.
That's cool.
So the five of us rotated driving it, and and we had some adventures, But we drove it in the Safari class, which is the greatest thing ever to get exposed to Baja. And so on the way down, you stop and gather and take pictures and have some tacos and beer, maybe some shots of tequila. Get back on the road and drive another 4 hours or so, and then do it again. And if somebody breaks down, we'll tow them out. And like I was saying before, the first day we lost the drain plug, and so that was kind of our only breakdown, really. And we stuck the tow bar on it, which we had a rack up here with all of our gear. And we towed it across the finish line. They welded a plug over where the drain plug was, put oil in it, and we didn't touch the motor the whole rest of the trip.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And now, obviously, right now, the way that you guys are seeing it, there's a windshield on the car. But when you guys actually raced it, there was no windshield on the car, right?
Right. No.
What did you guys wear?
So we had quite a few array of costumes. We had. Out of the five of us, one guy was kind of dressed up as like a cowboy that was maybe not so much a cowboy, maybe light in the heels cowboy. It was fun. And we had other guys with coveralls. Some of us had period correct helmets with the bubble face. So we all had sort of little costumes and themes that we had going on the whole time. And
that's cool.
It was fun. It was fun. And so with no windshield, we ended up at the end of the day with like a mask there and some sunglasses, and it was interesting when you got passed by a trophy truck or something because you get sandblasted.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, I'll tell you, when you start walking around this car, one of the things that really blew my mind is the fact that it's half Beetle, half bus.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of a trip when you actually come around and you start looking at this. Because at first I thought, oh wow, look at this. Okay, there's the tunnel. And obviously, you've got the original shifter. But then if you look, it actually takes a step up and you suddenly start seeing, well, a bus. You see, a transmission with reduction boxes. And obviously, they're still part of the rear frame from the bus. So it's kind of unique. And I guess this would be a perfect time to mention Northridge Auto Body. Joe, what's the story behind that?
So the story I heard was that the McKenzie family, McKenzie Race Products, right? They started out in Northridge, and they had a shop in Northridge. And Rick McKenzie built about a handful of these, 5 or 6 of them. Huh. This is one of the few that is the half and half, right? And we still don't know how they connected them. We had it all apart, and we were looking. It looks like it's just jammed in there, but we know we know that it held up for us, and you know, all these years. So something good is going on inside there to hold it together. The two pans.
No, it's kind of a unique idea. If anything, I think maybe some of the viewers out there are probably thinking, you know what, I've got that one wrecked bug and I've got that one wrecked bus. I can make something out of it. So I love the fact that it's called the Chimp. I think it's kind of funny, actually. Yeah. But I mean, look at the dash, you guys. I mean, you talk about, you know, bare bones. I mean, it looks like just one sheet of aluminum that was just kind of bent here, bent there, and start putting some switches.
Yeah, Doran, I mean, he tried to leave as much of it original as possible, and we would maybe just add to, right? Not take away. We did actually do, this damage wasn't already there. That was one of us, you know. I'm sorry.
Nice.
But, you know, we figured we'd leave the zip ties and the tape on it. Perfect.
It comes in handy, right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things that I thought was kind of funny, and you mentioned that it actually came to use, is that the spare tire is a stock 66, 67 rim, which looks like it's got like a 165 on it. So what happened?
Well, there was it's Mexico, and there's road hazards everywhere, and there was a big root sticking out of the. I spotted it. I turned, and it caught the sidewall, and I heard the pss, 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 pss. We were doing so. We pit crewed this thing right in the middle of the racetrack.
Nice.
Put the other tire back on. Away we went, and we actually just left that because there's so many great tire shops in Mexico, in Baja. We just said, we'll strap the flat on there, and if we get another flat, we'll figure it out then.
Right.
We made it all the way back.
That's funny. That is cool.
All the whole rest of the trip.
Now, the other thing, I know that you showed us some images earlier, really cool, and we'll be sharing that with you guys as well. Sometimes some of the images had the fenders, and then some of them didn't.
So I think they ran a bigger set of tire, and it would get in. We could hear it get into the fenders every now and then when we jumped it. I mean, we didn't jump it too big, but yeah. So they probably took the fenders off. There also is some photos of it running the pancake motor. So
really?
They had, you know, because that's the bigger motor, right? I guess they felt like they needed more horsepower. I'm not sure.
Look at that.
We don't know what the weight is, but it's light.
Such a trip that they cut the bus frame right here. Now, the other thing too, for all my bus geeks out there, if you notice the bar going underneath, you guys, guess what? This was an early bus, because look at the support that goes underneath there. By the horns, it's a tubular one, not the later one. So it was a 50s bus that was kind of resurrected into the Chimp.
68. So we don't know. I don't know exactly when it was built, but I think that alternator wasn't too far behind the 68 whenever they first started making them. It's been there a while.
So funny, man. We
didn't touch the motor. We have quite a few pictures of the crowds around it at the finish line every day.
Well, I think that's one of the coolest things, is that you were mentioning that when you would actually get to the finish, there were trophy trucks. You're talking cars that are $1 million plus, and then this. And everyone's crowding around this. And I think that's one of the coolest things about VWs, is that, you know, there are some very, very nice cars out there, but it's always the cool vintage VW that attracts a crowd, which I think is great. And also, I mean, it's crazy how dependable this thing has been from the stories that you shared.
Yeah, we didn't touch much of anything. We did have some point issues when we went through the silt. That was an adventure, going through silt in this, but we did it. And thanks to all my buddies out there. There's Ryan Heil, Steve Van Dam, Kenny, Mike Deere. I mean, all the guys that drove this thing. We had a blast together.
I can only imagine. Now, the cool thing, check this out, you guys. The gas tank, obviously, right behind you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that was Doran's work. I'm not sure what kind of tank was in it before. It was probably a selling tank or something. Who knows? But
yeah, it makes you wonder where it would have been placed, just because of the fact that it doesn't seem like there's really too much room. Now, so obviously you did the race, and here are your times from the safari that you did, which is really cool.
We had one really long day. It was about a 14 or 15 hour day where we finished. They were closing the finish line at 1 a.m. and we crossed at like 12:59 or something crazy and made it. And
oh my God.
They were so done. They handed us at every time at the safari class, when you cross the finish line, they give you a beer and a taco. It's great. So this particular finish line, they gave us a whole pizza in a box and a 6-pack of beer and said,
"Oh my goodness,
we're closing down. Here you go, guys."
Nice.
So it's fun.
Nice. That is
cool. It was a long day.
So I got to ask, obviously we're lucky that we caught this just before it's actually leaving on Friday to go to another event. But maybe it's a Doran question. What's the future for this bad boy? Is it going to end up next to all the other ones?
I think it's going to do safari either in the 500 or the 1000 next year. We couldn't rally the crew. You know, we all got families and stuff. And it's kind of hard to get away because it's a 10-day commitment in Baja. The 500 is a little easier, but I have a feeling it's gonna see Baja again. That's what I think, and I think Doran would love that.
Yeah,
and I think Doran might actually get behind the wheel this time.
Oh, really?
It'd be good.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's fantastic that you guys actually not only resurrected this, but the fact that you actually used it and raced it. Kudos to you. I think that's pretty admirable. Not only that, but what I think is really cool is that it inspires a lot of people. It inspires our viewers that are going, dude, that's rad. I want to do it. And I mean, realistically, you guys, think about it. I don't think it's going to cost a ton of money to do something like that, which I think is really cool. I would almost think that the comm system's probably worth more than putting all the parts together and everything. So this is great.
Yeah, it was a good time.
No, this is awesome. All right, cool. All right, let's do this, man. We're going to go for a ride.
Here we go.
Oh, this thing is cool.
So we're in the back roads of Orange.
Right, exactly. Real rough roads. So the trippy part is the fact that this thing sounds great, and yet you guys still don't know what size motor it is, huh?
No. We went to Baja and back, and it just ran like a top. Hats off to Doran on that.
Yeah, no kidding. Seriously, I mean, it's pretty impressive what you were telling me as far as driving around, losing the drain plug and losing all the oil.
Yeah.
Or did you almost lose all the oil? How much?
No, they watched it all come out, but luckily we just killed it right away.
Oh, that's good. That is good.
And we put oil back in it. We were a little paranoid. Put it back in. It fired right up. It sounded like this.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It was actually 1,250 miles.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
So there was 5 of us. We all rotated.
How cool.
And, one guy navigated, the other guy.
This is pretty neat, man. I mean, it's interesting because it's got a bus tranny in it.
Right. It's got the reduction gears.
Yeah.
But so top speed's we got it up to around 65 sometimes, but we didn't really want to push it for 65 for 4 hours straight.
Wow.
Maybe not,
No, this is good.
Yeah, I'm glad we came by the shop and.
Yeah.
So we did get some looks driving this around town.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So Doran picked this thing up in Pismo Beach. I'm not sure the guy knew exactly what it was, but Doran did. The guy thought that because it had centerline wheels on it, it was worth a lot of money. Those are not even on it anymore.
Oh, really?
I think they're in Duran's, stash somewhere at his house. And so he got the car and called some of his friends and said, I have an idea. It's not a good idea, But would you guys like to fix this up and you can do the Nora 1000 in it? And we fixed it up and we did it. And now it's just a kind of a fun little historic vehicle that Doran has some fun tinkering with. And he asked me to go display it in the Mint 400 this past weekend. We towed it out there and everybody just loved it.
That's so cool.
They just get such a big kick out of it, you know.
Oh, I bet. No, I mean,
difference in technology from 1968 to 2023 is big.
Right?
Yeah.
I always wonder if people actually thought back then, oh, this car will be around 55 plus years later, you know?
Yeah.
And people are going to be driving it and saying, wow, this thing's amazing. And I think it's actually really cool when you see people actually, come up to it going, oh, I remember when I saw one of these back in the day. I can't believe this thing's still around.
Well, I think Gene Hurst was the driver that won the Mint. He's a pretty well-known driver in the off-road world. And then I'm not sure, it kind of bounced around somebody's farm for a while, and they used it as a farm, like, to feed, to feed the animals. They stuck hay in the back or something. And bounced around the ranch for a handful of years, and then I don't know how it ended up in Pismo, but I'm just glad Doran found it because we had so much fun with it.
No, I know. It is kind of interesting when you hear these stories about these cars that are doing some sort of mediocre task, like you're saying, in a farm and taking hay around, and then before you know it, you guys are taking it on a 1,200 mile trek. I think if I was a car, I'd be so thankful.
Right.
Thank you so much for taking me out. This is great.
Yeah, it is kind of wet, but oh, now we got a train.
Oh, this is great. All right, folks. On a rainy day, we get a train.
Well, the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that we listened to a podcast called Slow Baja, and there was a guy on that. There's a story. It's not a very long train.
Good. So anyway, so you listen to a podcast.
Yeah, it's
called
Slow Baja podcast.
Okay.
And there's a story on there about a guy that him and his donkey walked Baja from Ensenada to Cabo.
Wow.
And so there's a story on it. They interviewed the guy.
Uh-huh.
And I told the guys, you got to hear this. So we were driving back from wrenching on this car from Santa Barbara back to Orange County.
Oh, wow.
And we listened to it, and we're like, we got to call this car. We're working on something. Well, the donkey's name was Don K, and we decided that would be appropriate for this car. So we call this car Don K. And people are like, well, I don't know. That's the story. It's named after a donkey that we knew sooner or later we'd make it to Cabo.
That's funny,
it's like
man.
the donkey.
I like that. That's hilarious.
So slow but sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, uncomfortable, but...
No, I think it's a trip. You were saying that this didn't have a windshield before.
No.
I mean, going that kind of mileage without a windshield, I can only imagine what you end up with in your teeth, on your face.
Well, we had, some masks.
Right.
We started out with helmets, and I had the bubble, all period correct with the bubble face on it. And after a while, we kind of got sick of that, and we just did sunglasses. And and then some of the guys did helmets.
That's awesome.
But it was definitely an experience we'll never forget.
I bet.
We took as many pictures as we could. We had a flat here and there. We broke the tire off the B, but we had all our stuff, put it all back on, put it all back together. And away we went. And every time we crossed the finish line, every single day, there'd be a trophy truck over there, and everybody would be around this thing just going, what? How in the world did that thing make it out?
That is cool. Awesome, man. Thanks for the ride.
Sure.
Thanks for watching. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, come on, what are you waiting for? Subscribe and keep checking us out. We're going to keep bringing you more exciting content. So thanks again, you guys. Joe.
Yep. Thank
you. Appreciate it.
All right.